Welcome to Hello English Teacher. Today let's look at some important points from the lesson Indigo of class 12. Indigo is actually an excerpt from the book The Life of Mahatma written by Louis Fisher. So Louis Fisher is narrating his experience when he visited Gandhi and what Gandhi told about him about the Champaran movement. So let us look at the important points from this chapter. Now, Indigo narrates Mahatma Gandhi's efforts in Champaran, which is situated in Bihar, to address the injustices faced by the poor peasants. Peasants means farmers. So, the peasants were oppressed or suppressed by the British landlords, especially due to the cultivation of indigo under exploitative conditions. So in Champaran, most of the lands were owned by the British landlords and they forced the farmers to grow 15% of their holding by indigo. And this was an exploitative situation because the farmers could not accept all the terms laid down by the landlords. So the story exemplifies Gandhi's principle of non-violence and self-reliance, which marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement in India. Exemplify means is an example of. So you can see how Gandhi's principles of non-violence and self-reliance helped the people in Champaran to actually start the civil disobedience movement in India and how they won that also. So, as I already mentioned, the British landlords forced the poor farmers to cultivate indigo. Indigo is a plant from which a dye is made. So, the farmers had to grow 15% of their land with indigo, and when the harvest was done, they had to pay that amount as taxes. And this was a very heavy thing for these poor farmers. Now, when the invention of synthetic indigo was known to the British landlords, they demanded compensation from the farmers to release them from this agreement. What they said is, you pay us enough money so that we will release you from this sharecropping agreement. So, this arrangement is called sharecropping, where they had to grow 15% of their land with indigo. Now, this situation led to extreme poverty among the peasants, causing unrest and discontent because the farmers were very poor. They were not able to pay the amount for the compensation. So, some of them gave cases, some of them tried to fight against these landlords, but then most of them were very poor. So, it was a very difficult situation for them to get out of this arrangement. So the people in Champaran were sure that only one man, Gandhi, could save them. So that is why Rajkumar Shukla went to Calcutta to invite Gandhi to Champaran so that he could do something and help the poor peasants. So Gandhi was invited to Champaran by a local peasant, Rajkumar Shukla, who wanted him to understand their plight. So Gandhi decided to investigate the situation firsthand, making a trip to Champaran in 1917. So his approach combined empathy and investigative work. He insisted on listening to the voices of those affected. Empathy means the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So he wanted to go to Champaran, go there and understand the feelings experienced by the poor peasants and then help them. So, on reaching Champaran, Gandhi went to meet the British officials, but then he was ordered to leave by the local authorities. But he refused accepting the legal consequences because he wanted to know what was happening there. He refused to go. So, this defiance was Gandhi's peaceful form of protest against the oppressive British rule. Defiance means disagreeing. He disagreed to go back when the authorities asked him to go. Now, this incident drew public attention, and Gandhi's calm stance inspired others to stand up against injustice. Calm stance means calm stand. So, inspired other people also to join him against fighting injustice. So, because of his defiance, Gandhi was summoned to the court. Summoned means called, where he had argued that his presence was to alleviate suffering and not to provoke disorder. Alleviate suffering means reduce the suffering of the poor people. So his appearance in the court garnered support from the peasants who gathered in large numbers. Garnered means gathered. So because he was present in the court, large number of people, especially the poor farmers, they came and gathered in front of the court, and this was a big support for Gandhiji. So ultimately the case was withdrawn against him and Gandhi was permitted to continue his inquiry into the Champaran issue. After being free from the case, along with a team of lawyers, which included Dr. Rajendra Prasad also, who later became the first president of India, he collected extensive evidence of the landlords' exploitation against the poor farmers. So, this approach showed that Gandhi's commitment to understanding the root cause and issuing factual documentation to support the peasants' cases. So he was able to collect large number of evidence showing actual exploitation against the farmers. So through interviews, he highlighted the brutality of forced indigo cultivation. Testimonials means evidences. So after talking to a lot of people, the farmers and everyone there in Champaran, he was able to collect a huge mountain of evidence which understood how these British landlords forced the poor farmers to grow indigo under their pressure. So, looking at the mountain of evidence, the British landlords eventually means finally agreed to refund the peasants. Only a partial refund was negotiated, means talked upon and agreed. So the British landlords agreed to pay 25% of the amount collected. So Gandhi accepted this as a symbolic victory because it was a moral win against the demonstrated power of collective action. So this incident marked the start of his broader fight for Indian independence, or we can say that this was the beginning of the fight for independence for India. So let's have a look at Gandhi's philosophy in Champaran. So Indigo showcases Gandhi's ideals of self-reliance, courage and power of truth. His emphasis on satyagraha was a peaceful means to resist oppression and seek justice. So he taught the people of Champaran how to be self-reliant and how to use the power of truth and be courageous and not to fear the British landlords. Because he said that the first thing we have to do is remove the fear from the peasants. It is only then that they will realize the importance of their own courage. So the story also highlights how he inspired people to challenge the authority without violence, focusing on self-worth and moral strength. So the Champaran episode marks Gandhi's first successful intervention on behalf of India's oppressed peasants. So successful intervention means successful involvement on behalf of the poor farmers. So this approach later influenced many other movements, building the foundation for widespread civil resistance. Civil means by the people. So Champaran became a milestone in India's freedom struggle, encouraging Indians to believe in their ability to bring about a change. So through Indigo, Fisher provides an insight or a deep understanding into Gandhi's character, his empathy for the oppressed and his revolutionary method. So how he was able to understand the feeling of the poor people and the methods he had employed to help them out. So the story also serves as a reminder of how the smallest acts of resistance can lead to powerful changes. It also shows or emphasizes Gandhi's role as a leader who uplifted the marginalized. Marginalized means the small society of people and paved the way for India's fight for freedom. I hope you liked today's video. For more interesting and informative videos, do subscribe to Hello English Teacher.